Here's what. You want to be productive. But the same buzzword keeps getting thrown back at you every single time you tell someone you want to be productive. And what is that? Efficiency. Now, if I say efficiency to you, what you're going to be probably thinking about is work, scheduling, and probably time, right? Time saving. And also, when I say efficiency, you're going to think of an environment that looks something like this. A factory environment, right? But is that really what efficiency is? Is productivity exactly efficiency? And this was brought in by the protagonist of today's video, that is Henry Ford. So let's get into why his system maybe worked, maybe didn't in this environment that we live in today. To understand why efficiency has come to the point where it is today, we have to reel it all the way back to the early 1900s. Let's explore the environment that was there in those days, right? So back then, only the most privileged, the highest class member in society could get a car, right? Your normal person could not get access to a car, maybe not even a bullock cart. So people had to walk by foot. Now, when you had to walk by foot, maybe 1 kilometer, it was fine. 2 kilometers is fine. But when you have people emigrating now because of globalization, you have some family members in the US, some people in the UK, some people in Romania, some people in Russia, some people in India. Now, since you have people all over the world, you can't travel by foot anymore. Not so easy. So then you have to see what's the next best alternative. You could say bullock carts, but bullock carts can only get you so far. So then people do have cars. But no, there's actually one more aspect that you need to remember. Back then, the cost of these cars was way too much out of the reach of the regular person. Which is why new companies came up, right? Like Volkswagen came up, the people's car in Germany. And most notably in America, Henry Ford with Ford. Why was Ford so peculiar? Because when he started out, he was one of the first manufacturers to look to make cars for the regular public and not just the wealthy society. So when you're considering those high demands, when you need vehicles available for the regular majority, that requires a lot of labor, a lot of capital. And when this is the situation, you need a lot of service behind you. But the problem is back then, people were incentivized in different ways and people were not exploited. So the only way to actually achieve what you want, right, to give people what they want, is to really manipulate them, in fact exploit them. And the only way to do that is to bring in these labor intensive, efficient factories. And that is where the whole story starts. And then we all know what happens after that. Ford builds this efficient system which is able to make cars at an extraordinary rate, and people are able to get cars finally. Now, what is the problem? Well, we already discussed, people were being exploited. And guess what? People couldn't do anything. Worker unions couldn't do anything. You know why? Because all people were unemployed. So there was always labor to come in. So even if somebody reports against the working conditions, what Ford can do is just say, okay, you don't like it? Yeah, okay, you can leave. I'll get the next person in. And that way, employment kept cycling about. And so he never had the issue of, oh, I don't have any workers for me. What do I do now? So because he got somebody else in, he could exploit humans to the limits of human capacity. And it did not matter to him how he treated them, because all he needed done was those cars manufactured. So as long as he got that, he did not care about anything else. But even with all these steady processes, he forgot one major detail. And that is what the focus of this video is, guys. That is human nature. While you can work for machines who are very monotonous in the work they do and they do not get tired, most importantly, it cannot be the same for humans. The problems that we are facing now in the world, he was breeding all this back then, all those 100 years ago. And the thing is, because he had the labor available, Ford didn't have to cater to people's needs. Because if you don't participate, I'm just going to get somebody else. It's not much of an issue. He neglected the fact that humans need break, variety, and some mental stimulation. That is how they can progress with what they're doing. And that is why, since that seeped into your education system as well, which I talked about in an earlier video linked right here, you guys can watch it right after this one. where I talked about how the education system has been affected by things that were done in the past, by people like Rockefeller, by people like Ford, who decided that the education system should change so that we can change the minds of the youth based on what we want. And that is our so-called efficiency, but not what humans deem to be efficient. So is efficiency and productivity the same? Your short answer is no. And why is that? Well, that's because you don't take these breaks. But now, why are these breaks so important and how can you implement this? Well, I had the same question the other day. Because in my case, I spent nearly 2 or 3 years doing work without actually focusing on how I can achieve this perfectly. Because I used to think this is going to come to me at some time, or maybe I'm just not cut out for this. Maybe this is not my thing. But the truth was, all I was missing was actually those breaks. If I changed those breaks up, maybe that would have given me something better. Like, let's just say this first. Probably some of the best lessons I learned was from this book right here. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Now, you guys might have seen this before. Maybe you guys have read it as well. But this book will actually tell you some of the things that you can implement. It's not very clear because the entire book is about these 7 principles here and there. But the idea is essentially there. And if you guys can read the book, it will actually be very beneficial for you. In fact, I would recommend audiobooks for you guys, because if you guys don't have the time to be reading books, then just listen to an audiobook. It's as simple as that. And that is also a part of the efficiency process, because when we don't have time to do something, we have to adapt. And the only way we can adapt is based on how our schedule works. If you guys want a starting plan, right? You want to see, okay, what's something I can do? Because I have no clue how to start. Okay, I'll tell you what I do then. So what I do is, let's just say I'm trying to do some high intensity work. Let's just say I'm trying to study. And I'll get bored very quickly. So what I do is, I set a timer for 45 minutes. And no matter what it is, whether it's boring, whether it's interesting, I try to cut it at 45 minutes. Because I feel that once that 45-minute mark hits, sometimes it's even 30. Either 30 minutes or 45 minutes. I set a timer, and right after that, I set another 15 to 20 minutes where I force myself sometimes to just walk around the place or just to go and talk to somebody. Not necessarily on my phone, but doing something else, right? And that way, I get my mind off the thing that I was trying to do, but also I get my mind that reset that it needs, right? To get it flowing back, you need sometimes to tell your brain, okay, wait, you've been doing some work now, good job, but now you need to just step away because it's not working for you this way. So let's just change it up a bit. Let's just go and do something else and come back. I'm telling you, it's going to change. And guess what? 99% of the time, it does actually change after that. Whatever I was thinking, the way that I was thinking of doing things just changes completely. So what I want you guys to do is to find the thing that gives you some peace, that gives you an interruption from your daily routine, especially when you're doing high intensity work. What can you replace with maybe your phone time, or maybe some time that you while away doing nothing, to yield you some peace and quiet that could actually help you focus even better right after that break. In fact, I'd say this: if you study for like 10 minutes, but you take maybe a 30-minute break as your first option, or in the second alternative, you just study for 5 hours on end, I'm telling you, whatever you learned in those 10 minutes, the efficiency with which you learned in those 10 minutes was way higher than when you learned in those 5 hours. Because eventually, let's just say, even if you're superhuman and your focus goes up to 1.5 hours, even after then, you've already lost focus of what you were doing. So whatever else you're doing after that, it's really bad. First of all, you feel you've already studied that part, so you don't need to go back to that. So you've already missed out on that. So if you really want efficiency, then let's just start incorporating more breaks. Don't take 3-hour breaks in between. Like, it has to be short, concise, and most importantly, off your phones, especially if you want that focused flow state right after your break. Because the more that you interact with somebody, or the more that you just take a walk around the place and just, see what's what, your mind actually does get that reset. And once it can get that reset, then you can focus on work way better than you were doing before. Because of this system, because of the efficiency system, it's taught you from a long time ago that if I have a project in front of me, I have to now sit 8 or 10 hours and do that and then only leave. is that mindset of, I don't care what's happening around me. I'm just going to finish this. I'm just going to sit in one place, do this until I finish this. I'm not moving anywhere. Now, that can be good sometimes. But also, let's say you're going to say, I'm going to sit here 8 hours till I finish this project. And after that, I can leave, I can relax, I can do whatever I like. But the problem with that is that by the time you maybe hit the 2 or 3 hour mark where you were motivated when you started, but afterwards, slowly that motivation has just dissipated. Now it's no more. Now, what are you going to use to keep yourself motivated after the 3 hour mark? Because you did say 8 hours, but it doesn't look like it's happening. So that's when you have to see that I need a break right now. I'll take a small break, I'll come back, and then I'll be re-energized to do it again. And when you have this mindset with projects, then anything that's given to you, even in the real world, you'll try to take it this way. But then let's just say that you get it done in 8 hours. It's probably not the best thing that you could have got done. Because if you had maybe taken breaks in between, maybe let's say you had taken 1 hour break, 1 hour break, 1 hour break, 8 times. Then by the time that you've done the 8th hour, because of those breaks in between, your mind got a reset. Mind got 8 resets in between. Whereas in your 8 hour study, you didn't get even 1. So your mind didn't get any reset. So afterwards, your brain's conditioning, right? It was at the top when it started and then goes. And then keeps falling till here. But let's just say that you got breaks in between. So what happened is your brain's going like this, right? It's starting to decline. It took a break in between. So now you come back, you're back up here. Still going. And then it starts falling again. Break in between again. Now reset again. And it pretty much maintains that level, It does not go too bad. That is why you need breaks. And people who say that breaks are not good for you, do not listen to them. Because you need aspects of breaks, you need aspects of work, you need both. And without them, you just cannot survive. If you agree that Ford system was always meant to pull you down, then you can go out and check out one of these 2 videos linked right here about how you can plan your breaks and cheat days to work the best for you. So smash subscribe, slap a like on, and always remember, never stop dreaming. See you all.